A New Hope, Nier Chapter 149 Fan Fiction by Azazyel. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel for listening and patreon.com/Azazyel to read all of his stories. With the Elden Ring shard of joining buried within my soul, I could already feel just more balance out honestly. That Chozo back on the world of Metroid was definitely right, as even with a single tiny shard of light divinity I was feeling a good bit more well-centered, I guess the term would be. I was sitting with my legs crossed in a meditative position with A2 leaning her back against mine as we sat atop one of the large branches of massive lesser Erd trees that dotted the world of Elden Ring, and we were both just taking in the surreal sights this fantasy world had. I wondered if I should take over the Academy of Raya Lucaria. Having a literal magic school under my control would help me in the future on the same level as having found Yoarha itself, honestly. I thought with my lips twitching as I realized that Raya Lucaria was just ghetto Hogwarts with a lot more dangerous creatures within and surrounding it. It's an interesting world to be sure. I muttered softly as A2 snorted, and I felt her long hair hitting the back of my neck as she turned to respond. Yeah, but everything in this damned world is insane. Or is just so warped and twisted that they are barely better than zombies. A2 wasn't exactly happy with sticking around in this world for any amount of time. All for one reason. This world was a painful example of a shattered world, with the native humanity being all but wiped out. And I knew that should the twins Devola and Popula come here, oh, they would be in a bad way, as they would see all the twisted remains of humanity as a painful reminder of what happened with the humans of the Nier universe who tried to use soul magic to survive the white chlorination syndrome and failed. There was a silence before A2 sighed and spoke. But it's fine. These wretches aren't human after centuries of their souls being mangled and their flesh being unable to reform after their souls fall apart between deaths. I gave A2 a pat on the side as I considered something and whether I needed to do too much in this world, as honestly. This world was a work of Miyazaki. There literally wasn't a happy ending unless you counted the Runny ending, in which you went with your undead blue-skinned doll princess waifu and just welcomed the eldritch to the world as you left the world. But as A2 already put it, this world was basically already dead, with so few sentient beings that weren't driven mad dregs after being killed over the countless years after the shattering of the Elden Ring. So maybe being devoured by some eldritch horror was a mercy for the mad dregs of this world. We remained in companionable silence, with our hands intertwined lewdly with the other's hand by our side, as we just took in the beautiful landscape around us that was well lit by the sun above us and the massive glowing trees that were the Erd trees that dotted across the landscape. A soft crunching noise rang out, and I tilted my head to the side and I held in a smile to what I saw, as perched somewhat uncomfortably on the branch we were on was a new woman wearing a concealing cloak with a hint of brown hair showing underneath her hood. And just as she made that noise, as she fell into a respectful crouch a good bit of distance away from us, A2 twitched and gave the woman a look before speaking wryly. Oh wow, Jake, you were right. A maiden has already found their way up to us. The woman I knew to be Melina twitched at my android's words, but she audibly took a breath and spoke in a rather old-timey tone of voice. Indeed, automaton with a soul. I, along with others, watched your battle with the demigod Godric, and I wish to parley with you before the true agents of the Golden Order arrive. As you are no tarnished. Truthfully, I am unaware of what you are now with the Elden Ring shard within yourself. I made a noise of interest as I turned while sitting to fully face the woman, and I spoke. Then let us parley. What do you offer, and what will the cost be? I asked bluntly, as I wasn't going to play at being all-knowing using my foreknowledge. I needed a finger maiden to use these runes, and besides Melina here, I really didn't know of any other. And with how I wasn't a tarnished, I probably wouldn't be welcomed into the round table hold. And even if I was welcomed, who was to say it wouldn't be a trap to take my great rune? Melina slowly pushed back her hood, exposing her face to me as she spoke elegantly. I may not be a two-finger maiden, but I can still turn runes into strength and do any of the other tasks a finger maiden would do for their tarnished. My name is Melina, and I may not be a true finger maiden, but neither are you a tarnished, so maybe this is our fate. I drummed my fingers on my knee as I thought about how cute Melina looked with that odd tattoo or even scar that kept one of her eyes closed, and made me think about the other waifu of this setting in Runny. But after a moment of thought, I answered Melina as she patiently waited for an answer. And what will such a service cost? I asked frankly. And Melina dipped her head slightly as she spoke carefully. I wish for you to do as you are already doing. Kill the demigod shard holders and lead me to the great Erd tree in the capital city. I held out a hand to her, and Melina paused before chuckling and asking quietly. That's it? You accept so easily to allow me to touch upon your mind, body and soul. To Melina's words I smiled and responded clearly with a small smile. Yes, Melina, I will trust you to imbue my body with the runes I have gathered. And in turn, I will go and kill all but 3 of the demigods of this world. I spoke, making her raise an eyebrow in thought as she looked at me with her single golden eye. She tilted her head to the side and asked with some amount of deep concern as she came closer to me and took my hand into her own hands. And which demigods will you spare then? And most importantly, why, as to become the new Elden Lord will require you to gather their great runes? I took a breath as a smile tinged with amusement crossed my face. Oh. Of course, I don't plan to kill Rennala, as she is but a broken woman who has lost all she has loved. Next would be Radon, as I plan to reverse his curse of madness and restore him back to his prime to act as my general. And lastly, I will bring the blade of Miquella, Melnia, under my banner. Melina looked at me like I was utterly mad, and I couldn't blame her as I laughed aloud at how flabbergasted she was. But she still shook her head with a wry smile as she then asked in curiosity. Then how do you plan to fix the shattered Elden Ring? You still need at least another if not more to bring stability to this world. I gave her a look and then said frankly. Rykard, Morgott, Mog, Goldmask, the loathsome Dung-Eater, and the Deathbed Companion all have their own great runes. There is plenty to go around. I finished as I counted them out on my fingers, making Melina's face twitch as she seemingly didn't think about the lesser shards that were taken away as well. Most people, when they thought about the great rune shards, only considered the people like Rykard, Radon and Melnia, for example, as the true demigods of this world. But in reality there were more great runes running about. So let's use some of these runes, shall we? And Melina nodded with her eyes looking at me in a different light.